Hey y'all, welcome to XOMO. On today's episode, we are going to talk about crystals. Now, crystals is something that I've decided to do because a lot of my friends have, I've been into crystals for maybe 5 or 6 years now, and I kind of fell into it and then quite naturally had an affinity for crystals. But a lot of friends have been asking, hey, Maurice, you should teach people about crystals. You should put that on your YouTube channel, and this, that, and the third. And because everything that's been going on, I was like, it would probably be useful for me to just help my Black community and teach them about crystals, or at least how I'm using them. Excuse the fireworks. But anyway, let's get into it. So I'm going to be teaching you about 4 different parts of crystals: selecting your crystal, programming your crystal, cleansing your crystal, and recharging your crystal. These are the 4 necessary steps to get started with crystals. This is probably like a beginner's guide. So let's get right into it. First off, selecting a crystal. The greatest recommendation that I can have is do research. Do research on crystals. If you're new to this, I recommend starting off with a rose quartz or an amethyst or a clear quartz. Those are pretty basic crystals you can't go wrong with. Rose quartz, great for self-love. Amethyst, I've usually in the past helped get rid of addictions and have clear thoughts. And opening up the third eye. And clear quartz can actually be programmed for anything, but that's another crystal that I've programmed in the past to help me see my options quite clearly. So like today's tutorial, I'll be working with this silver aura quartz. I've programmed this one to help me reach a new level of potential, break the glass ceiling as it were, and help me discover new ideas and things that'll help actually push me and get me closer to my goals. So yeah, I would say do research, find a metaphysical or like a psychic or a crystal shop. Some bookstores, there's a bookstore in Central Square called 7 Stars. That's my favorite crystal shop in town. If you're a Boston girl, check her out near Central. But yeah, so part of it is doing research and then going to find a crystal based on what you need or what kind of ambitions or endeavors you need help with. I personally, a lot of the times I just walk into a crystal shop and I let the crystals talk to me. A big part of my practice personally is being influenced by the crystals and letting the crystals influence me first. Because I believe that my spirit guides and my spirit in combination with the crystals, they probably know better than anything I can think of or manly intelligence manifest. So yeah, selecting your crystal. Once you have your crystal selected, you want to move on to cleansing your crystal. Now this is a very important part of the process, and I can't stress this enough. This is very much about letting go of any old energies and cleaning the crystal just so that you have a clean slate to build a new relationship with your crystal. And that's how I view all my relationships with my crystals, as relationships. It's a partnership. I program a crystal with a goal, and the crystal in return helps me. And then as long as I'm putting in my work, the crystal will put in their side of the work. Great. Okay, so cleansing your crystals. There's a couple different ways to do this, but the ways that I use the most are actually cleansing them with sage, or another herb of your choice, and washing them with water. Excuse me. And then there's kind of a resetting process that I have afterwards. So what you want to do is you really want to, staging. So what you want to do is so if you're going to sage to cleanse your crystal, what you want to do is you want to get your sage, you want to light it up, and then get your crystal, and you want to waft it back and forth through the smoke, making sure that you get all the areas on the crystal. Sometimes I've put it in a dish, an empty candle dish or a glass jar. I've put the smoke in there, covered it up, and let it sit there overnight. You can also let your crystal sit in the moonlight or in the sunlight. But just be sure that you meditate and be intentional about your cleansing process. You sit down, you meditate. This upcoming process that I'm going to do, whether you're washing it underwater, bonus points if you have a creek or a stream or some type of fresh body of water nearby, or you can just do it with your sink water. Anything works. I will say that the most important thing is that your intention will make or break your process. So yeah, cleansing your crystal. Up next, you have programming your crystal. Now this is the next important step to developing a relationship with your crystal. So once you figured out what you want to do with your crystal, what I like to do, I grab my crystal, and the first step that I do is I just take in, let me backtrack a little bit. Set up your environment. You want to be in a good environment. A lot of the times I like to do that, during a full moon, or when there's nice and sunny outside, or if you can just like set the mood in your room and create a really sacred space to program your crystal. So once that's done, once you're in a good environment, you're all calm down and ready to go, what I like to do is meditate. I like to meditate with myself first. Again, that's part of my process. I like to meditate with myself, taking some time, really get into the zone. Okay, I'm going to program this crystal, and it's going to help me manifest my dreams, my goals, help me break the third ceiling, and reach new boundaries. Great. From then, I would go on to grab my crystal, and then I would just take the crystal in. This is the beginning of the bonding process. So I take a look at the crystal. I notice all the fine details. Are there angles? Is it pointed? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it a geode? Where does it reflect light? Are there anything special that I can tell about the patterns on the inside of the crystal? You know what I'm saying? Is it clear in color? Is it smoky? Is it strong? These are all things that I like to pay attention to. And then once I get the impulse, I'll actually close my eyes, and then I'll get in tune with the vibration of the crystal. Again, personal process. A lot of this is about listening to your intuition. Your intuition will tell you everything that you need to know. Don't overthink it. Just follow the impulses of your intuition and go. Once I feel like I'm in tune with the crystal, that's when I actually go into the programming process. Again, you can speak a mantra to it. It's not usually what I do. I usually just sit in silence, meditate, and think about what I want the crystal to do, or how I want it to benefit me, and how I'm going to work with the crystal. And then, once you're done with that, it's essentially programmed. You're good to go. Usually what I do with my crystals after they're programmed, I give them a day to get friendly with the rest of my crystals. I have a crystal altar, and I put all my crystals there. I light a candle almost every night or once a day, just to be like an energy source for them to bond, and it's part of my ritual. So yeah, that's just a part of my practice. And then after that, you actually want to get into recharging your crystal. So this is the last process of like how to be an effective user with your crystal. It's kind of like, if you think about it this way, like humans, we need to recharge. Like we need self-care, you know what I mean? It's like you can only give to others what you give to yourself first. And we all have our self-care practices, whether that's taking a hot bubble bath, reading a book, sleeping, watching some nice television, YouTube channel, girl. Whatever you need to do, that's essentially what this is going to be for your crystal. So you kind of want to do it on a schedule or some type of regular basis. If you're doing a regular, like, put it in your pocket, or if it's an accessory like a bracelet or a necklace or earrings, you can do this a little less frequently. But again, it's really just about finding a process that makes sense to you. I kind of like to do it on a monthly basis or a seasonal basis, depending on how often I'm using the crystal. So yeah, recharging the crystal. I generally like to coordinate with what the crystal is for. So if I'm using the crystal to help me with some type of intuition, some psychic goals, or like emotional endeavors that I need to accomplish, I'll actually like to charge it in the moonlight. In a full moon, set it on my windowsill, meditate before I put it there, grab it first thing in the morning. It'll be recharged after sitting in the moonlight all night. If it's something a little more physical, something that actually requires my body, career, or like action oriented, I like to charge those crystals in the sun. A lot of people, depending on what kind of crystal you have, if you have a crystal that's deeply colored, the sun can make it fade. If you care about that, be cautious. So like if you're worried about like the color of your crystal fading, I say don't leave it in the sun for any more than like 30 minutes at a time to recharge. I personally am very much like, I like to leave it all day. You know what I mean? I get the most bang for my buck. You know what I'm saying? The sun, she's that girl. She'll recharge you in the way that you need to be recharged. Excuse me. So my ritual of like setting all my crystals at my crystal altar and lighting a candle, excuse me, girl, I'm a little burpy. That's a part of my process as well. That's like a light recharge for me. It's like a resetting. It's like me putting my crystals to bed, so they'll rest. Let me see. Yeah, and then the elements. You know what I mean? You can recharge your elements by setting them in water. Depending on what kind of crystal you have, do research on your crystals, because all crystals will not work with all elements. Okay, because selenite is a crystal type that will dissolve in water. So you just got to be cautious about what kind of crystal you're using, what your cleansing and recharging process is like. You can also set them in the ground, in raw earth. You know what I'm saying? I've used onyx and African turquoise in the past to help me stay grounded and resilient. I charge that by setting it on the floor or putting in a bowl with some dirt, or actually burying it in the dirt for like a day outside. So yeah, utilize the elements. Again, it's really about finding a process that's good for you. And yeah, do some more research on your crystal, because there are certain crystals that don't need to be recharged. So yeah, so keep this in mind, and I do want to leave you off with two things to remember. Number one, your power to believe is the most powerful thing that you will ever have. Once you have a clear understanding that you are a co-creator in everything that you see in the world, your crystals will believe that with you, and they will be much more beneficial to you and the way that you're using them. If you go into this being skeptical, like, yeah, girl, it's just a rock. You know, the girls, it's just a rock. I don't think that does anything. If that's your attitude, that's how the crystal will work. You know what I mean? It starts with you. And then secondly, don't abuse your crystal. You know what I'm saying? I've said this a couple times now. Your crystal will work with you. Not for you, but with you. Crystals are not magical stones that, like, once you carry them, they'll just solve all your problems. You know what I'm saying? If you programmed it to help you fix your addiction, she's just not going to solve the addiction with you, for you. You have to put in enough work, and your crystal will meet you halfway. Crystals will call energies towards you. They'll bring people into your life. They'll bring things to your attention and your awareness, so that you're actually able to navigate things a lot sooner, navigate and accomplish goals a lot sooner, and manifest the things that you want to see in your life than if you were doing them by yourself. So yeah, that's my quick crystal go-to. So research, select your crystal, cleanse your crystal, program your crystal, and recharge your crystal. Alrighty, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to be doing another video on protective crystals, or some crystals that I've used in my experience for protecting yourself, and that'll be coming up next. Let me know if you have any questions. I love you guys, and until next time, that's XO Mo.